This video is about Freyja warns Midgard village about giant invades. If this myth excites you, please like the video, share it with friends, and write in the comments how it pulled you into the adventure. In the realm of Midgard, beneath the watchful gaze of the heavenly gods, lay the village of Eldrine, a settlement girdled by emerald hills and glimmering streams. Its people, sturdy and proud, revered the ancient tales of their forebears, tales of gods and giants, of honor and sacrifice, woven into the fabric of their very existence. But little did they know an ancient threat loomed like a storm on the horizon. On a fateful eve, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the village, a chill swept through Eldrine. In the sacred grove where the villagers gathered to honor Freyja, the goddess of love and war, whispers of dread echoed. It was said that Freyja, with her flowing hair of gold and fierce emerald eyes, descended to warn them. As twilight descended, a shimmering light illuminated the grove. Freyja appeared, radiant yet somber. The villagers, kneeling in reverence, felt the weight of her presence. They could sense the urgency in her spirit. Her voice, usually soft and melodic, burned with intensity. "Children of Midgard," she began, her eyes sweeping over the faces of the villagers. "Darkness stirs in the north, and the giant Hrimthur awakens from his slumber. He seeks vengeance for the blood of his kin spilled by the gods. Prepare yourselves, for he shall breach you borders." The villagers gasped, fear coursing through their veins. Others exchanged worried glances, while warriors gripped their weapons tighter. "What must we do, great Freyja?" a brave man named Bjorn, the village chieftain, asked, his voice trembling but resolute. "Gather your strength, sharpen your blades, and fortify your walls, but remember, honor must guide your actions. A giant's heart can only be pierced by bravery and sacrifice," Freyja replied, her voice echoing like thunder. "I will send my blessings, you are not alone." With that, she vanished as swiftly as she had appeared, leaving behind an enchanting luminescence that faded into the darkness of the night. The villagers, ignited by her bold words, rallied together instantly. They prepared for war against a foe who towered over mountains and whose footsteps reverberated like thunder. Days passed, yet the air was thick with anticipation. Bjorn led the warriors in training, their spirits rising as they learned to fight as one. The women of Eldrine, fierce as any warrior, gathered the children and elders, teaching them to find strength in unity. Among them was Astrid, a young girl with fiery determination, who dreamt of being a warrior like her father. But amidst their preparations, a shadow crept across the northern horizon. Hrimthur, a colossal giant draped in the chaos of storms, emerged. His skin was as grey and cracked as ancient stone, his eyes burning like molten gold. With each step he took, trees fell, and the very ground quaked beneath him. The day of reckoning arrived, and the villagers stood shoulder to shoulder, armed with crude swords and shields. Bjorn stood at the forefront, heart pounding with the rhythm of destiny. The villagers had adorned themselves with tokens blessed by Freyja, their skins marked with protective runes, and their spirits ignited with resilience. "Today, we protect our home and honor the gods that watch over us," Bjorn shouted, voice booming like a war drum. "We fight not just for ourselves, but for every soul who dreams of a future free from fear." As the giant approached, shadows danced menacingly across the fields. Hrimthur halted, towering over the village like an ominous storm cloud. His voice resonated like rolling thunder, booming with malice. "Fleas of Midgard, you dare stand against me for your petty gods, I shall crush you underfoot." The villagers, though terrified, met his scorn with defiance. They raised their weapons, a chorus of determination echoing in the air. "We fight for honor and for our kin," Bjorn declared once more, rallying the spirit of Eldrine. With a roar that shook the heavens, Hrimthur charged. The ground trembled beneath him as he closed the distance to the village. Bjorn and his warriors engaged the giant, darting like wasps, striking where they could while evading his colossal fists. With each strike of their swords against his skin, Hrimthur howled in rage. The impact sent waves of force that toppled trees, scattering the villagers in disarray. Yet, from the chaos, Astrid stood firm, a fire blazing in her heart. She remembered Freyja's words of bravery and sacrifice, and she felt the weight of destiny upon her shoulders. Gathering her courage, Astrid sprinted toward the giant. She climbed a fallen tree, her small frame moving with agility and purpose. "Freyja, give me strength," she cried, raising her dagger high. The villagers turned, their hearts swelling with hope, finding resolve in her unwavering spirit. "Fleas," bellowed Hrimthur, swatting at the warriors with furious abandon. Bjorn shouted commands, guiding his warriors to flank the giant. With each moment, Astrid climbed higher, her eyes locked on Hrimthur's exposed neck. She knew she must strike true. But the giant, sensing her presence, twisted around with startling speed. "The foolish child," he roared, his immense hand swiping toward her. Astrid leaped, narrowly avoiding his grasp, and landed on a boulder. With fierce determination, she found her footing and aimed for the giant's throat. "By the gods, I will not be afraid," she shouted, her voice piercing through the chaos. With a mighty leap, she launched herself toward Hrimthur's, dagger poised to strike. The world around her faded, and time slowed as she soared through the air. In that fleeting moment, the villagers rallied behind her. Bjorn and the warriors roared, a fearsome battle cry echoing across the valley. The giant's eyes widened in surprise as Astrid's dagger found its mark, piercing the thick flesh of his neck with a cry of divine power. Hrimthur staggered back, shock and pain coursing through him. The ground shook as he faltered, but it was not the end. With one last surge of strength, he reached for Astrid, eyes blazing with fury. "You dare to challenge me, tiny child? I will crush your spirit." Fear gripped the hearts of the villagers, but a voice stronger than thunder echoed in Astrid's mind, the voice of Freyja. "Courage, child, honor your destiny." With fiery determination, Astrid clung to the dagger, twisting it deeper as she called upon the strength of her ancestors. Bjorn rallied the warriors, their spirits ignited by Astrid's bravery. "Now, strike with all you have, we fight for our future." The villagers urged forward, united in their resolve. Swords clashed against the giant's stone-like skin, and the air filled with the cries of battle. Realizing his defeat was near, Hrimthur unleashed a final roar, a thunderous sound that echoed beyond the hills, calling forth the fury of storms. The skies darkened, lightning crackling above as he swung his massive arms frantically, attempting to shake the villagers from his back. But Astrid held on, an indomitable spirit driving her forward. She felt Freyja's presence surrounding her, and in that moment of connection, she understood the power of sacrifice. It was not just her life at stake, it was the lives of all those she loved. With one final surge of energy, she twisted the dagger and cried out to Freyja, "Grant me your strength." A brilliant light enveloped her, and with a surge of divine power, she plunged the dagger deep, aiming for the heart of the beast. As the blade struck true, a blinding radiance erupted, illuminating the darkened sky. Hrimthur let out a final, earth-shattering cry, collapsing to the ground in a cacophony of thunder and despair. The villagers stood in awe, united in their triumph, yet the moment was bittersweet. Astrid, exhausted, fell to her knees as the energy left her body. The villagers rushed to her, their faces a mix of admiration and fear. "Astrid," Bjorn exclaimed, his voice filled with pride. "You have shown us what true bravery looks like." But as they celebrated, the winds howled, and the skies darkened further. From the depths of despair, a dark omen emerged. The shadows of the past were not yet vanquished. The fabric of destiny had shifted, and while they had triumphed over Hrimthur, a greater challenge awaited on the horizon. And thus, as the village of Elvheim reveled in victory, a greater threat loomed in the shadows, unseen but felt a reminder that in a world of gods and giants, the fight for honor and survival was far from over. As dawn broke over Eldheim, the village awoke to a world transformed. The ancient giant Hrimthur lay vanquished, his massive form sprawled across the once peaceful fields, now marred by the chaos of battle. The air, thick with the scent of smoke and victory, carried the weight of sacrifice. Astrid, the young girl whose bravery had pierced the heart of the beast, lay in the center of the village, her body trembling with exhaustion as the villagers gathered around her, faces etched with awe and reverence. Bjorn knelt beside her, his heart a tempest of pride and fear. "Astrid," he whispered, brushing the hair from her face, "you are a beacon to us all. Do not leave us." But Astrid's eyes fluttered open, revealing depths of weariness and resolute strength. "I am not finished yet, chieftain," she murmured, voice barely a whisper. For darkness still stirs in the north. The villagers, still aflame with victory, exchanged uncertain glances. The weight of Astrid's words hung in the air like an ominous cloud. Had they really defeated Hrimthur, or merely awakened a slumbering nightmare? Just then, the sky crackled with ominous energy. The clouds, once tinged with gentle hues of dawn, swelled darkly, announcing an approaching storm. A presence loomed, more powerful than the giant they had just defeated. It was a shadow, a dark echo of vengeance trailing the footsteps of his fallen kin. From the swirling mist, a figure emerged, Galdor, the Frost King, brother to Hrimthur. Clad in armor forged from the hearts of glaciers, his eyes glinted like ice shards. He wielded a massive staff crowned with the frozen skull of a winter wolf, a harbinger of his cruel intent. "Foolish mortals," Galdor's voice boomed, icy and relentless. "You think yourselves victorious. You have only stood the wrath of a greater power. Hrimthur was but a puppet, and now I shall weave the strings of your demise." Astrid, rising to her feet despite the pain that coursed through her, managed to draw her dagger, a symbol of her triumph. "You are mistaken, Frost King. We will not bow to the likes of you. We are more than the sum of our fears." With a scornful laugh, Galdor raised his staff, and the wind howled in response, a prelude to the tempest brewing around them. Ice shards rained from the sky like arrows poised to claim their lives. Bjorn shouted commands, rallying the warriors for another fight, but panic surged among the villagers. "Prepare yourselves," he roared, voice carrying above the chaos. "Brace against the storm." The warriors formed a protective circle around Astrid, their weapons gleaming, but Galdor's magic was swift and merciless. With a flick of his wrist, the ground beneath the villages erupted, icy tendrils reaching for their hearts. One by one, the warriors were ensnared in the grasp of winter's wrath, icy chains binding their arms and legs. "Feel the chill of despair," Galdor thundered, relishing the sight of their struggle. "For each breath you draw, I shall summon more fury." But Astrid, fueled by the light of Freyja still pulsing within her, stepped forward. "Listen," she cried, gathering her strength. "We have faced giants, we have faced death. You are not invincible, Galdor. Your heart beats with the same fear as ours." At her words, Galdor faltered for the briefest moment, surprise flickering across his icy visage. That spark of defiance ignited something within the villagers. They started chanting Astrid's name, their voices rising like a tide against the storm. The sound carried through the air, weaving hope into their hearts. "Let your hearts be free," Astrid shouted, unyielding. "Together, we will break your chains." With a furious cry, the villagers surged forward, their determination entwining with her own. Some warriors broke free from the icy bind, compelled by the strength of their shared spirit. They charged toward Galdor, wielding their swords with newfound ferocity. "Strike true!" Bjorn roared, rallying the warriors. He lunged at Galdor, but the Frost King countered with a swift swing of his staff, sending icy shards flying. Bjorn deflected them, his armor glinting against the shards of cold that sought his life. The clash of steel met the icy winds, a mosaic of battle that danced across the battlefield. The villagers fought as one, hearts and minds united against the darkness. But Galdor was formidable, conjuring storms and blizzards that threatened to swallow them whole. In the midst of chaos, Astrid spotted a glimmer of sacred stone, one that Freyja had blessed before the battle against Hrimthurs. It lay half buried beneath the remnants of the storm, pulsing with a radiance that beckoned her closer. With every ounce of strength, she raced toward it, dodging the icy tendrils that lashed out in fury. "Freyja, lend me your strength," she cried, reaching for the stone. As her fingers brushed its surface, a surge of power coursed through her, illuminating her with a blinding light. The wind stilled, and time seemed to halt as she felt the presence of the goddess enveloping her. Courage comes from the heart of the warrior. Freyja's voice rang in her mind, a symphony of warmth amid the storm. "Let your spirit shine, Astrid, and the giants shall fall." With renewed determination, Astrid drew her dagger and seized the stone, feeling its power meld with her own. "You will not win, Galdor," she declared, her voice echoing in the stillness. "We are not afraid." The villagers rallied behind her, emboldened by the light emanating from Astrid. "Fight, fight for our home," they shouted, their voices a chorus of defiance that reverberated through the air. Astrid charged towards Galdor, the sacred stone pulsing with energy at her side. As she neared him, she raised her dagger high, shimmering with divine light. "By the power of Freyja, I strike you down." Galdor, realizing the threat she posed, unleashed a blizzard, seeking to extinguish her light. Ice and snow billowed around them, but Astrid pressed on, her heart a beacon against the darkness. She leaped, soaring over the icy storm, spinning in midair to land with her dagger poised toward Galdor's heart. With a fierce cry, she plunged the dagger into the Frost King's chest, the sacred stone merging with her blade. A brilliant explosion of light erupted, piercing through the veil of winter that surrounded them. Galdor let out a howl that echoed through the mountains, the sound a mixture of rage and fear, before he collapsed, his body disintegrating into shards of ice that scattered across the battlefield. The storm ceased, leaving only the remnants of battle behind. Silence enveloped Eldrum as the villagers stood, breathless, in the aftermath. They surrounded Astrid, their faces painted with both anguish and awe. "You have saved us, Astrid," Bjorn shouted, tears streaming down his cheeks. "You have shown us the strength of unity, of bravery and sacrifice." But before Astrid could respond, a tremor shook the ground beneath them. The earth cracked, and from the depths of the shadows, another figure emerged, a silhouette cloaked in darkness, the embodiment of vengeance. It was Skald, the weaver of fate, the one who had spun the threads of destiny for both gods and mortals. "Foolish children," she hissed, her voice a chilling melody. You think you've triumphed. The cycle of destruction isn't broken. For every giant you vanquish, another will rise. With a flick of her wrist, shadows slithed forth, creeping toward the villagers. Galdor may have fallen, but the looming threat of Skuld sent shivers through their hearts. Astrid clenched her dagger, the light within her flickering but resolute. "We will not succumb to despair," she declared, her voice steady amidst the encroaching darkness. "We will forge our own fate." With the power of Freyja guiding them, the villagers stood strong, united against Skuld's malevolence. The battle for Eldheim was far from over, but as long as they held on to their bravery and honor, they would fight for their destiny, whatever it may bring. As the sun broke through the dark clouds, a new dawn began, and the people of Eldheim understood that, in the heart of every storm, there lay the promise of hope, waiting to be seized. And thus, the legend of Astrid, the girl who challenged giants, would forever echo through the ages, a tale of bravery that transcended time itself. As the remnants of Galdor's icy form scattered across the battlefield, whispers of triumph mingled with a lingering tension in the air. The villagers of Eldheim, hearts alight with victory, stood shoulder to shoulder, yet shadows stared ominously around them. Astrid, still clenching her dagger, felt the weight of destiny heavy upon her. Suddenly, Skuld, the weaver of fate, moved through the shadows, her eyes gleaming with a cold light that seemed to pierce through the very souls of the villagers. "You think you can challenge fate?" she purred, her voice an echo of dread. "Every victory you claim births a new calamity. A calamity we will face together." Bjorn shouted, stepping forward with resolve etched into his features. The chieftain's voice resonated through the silence, daring to pierce the oppressive aura that surrounded them. "You may weave destinies, Skuld, but we are the threads that refuse to be tangled." Astrid's heart raced as she felt the pulse of her village behind her, their shared spirit igniting a flame of defiance within her. "We will not bow before you, weaver of shadows," she shouted, raising her dagger, still glowing with the remnants of Freyja's blessing. "We write our own fate." Skuld's laughter danced like ice crystals in the air, sharp and mocking. With a flick of her wrist, she summoned tendrils of darkness that snaked toward the villagers, seeking to ensnare them in despair and fear. "Oh, how brave you are, little girl. But bravery alone cannot shield you from the threads of my design." The shadows advanced, reminiscent of creeping vines, slithering toward the hearts of the brave villagers. Astrid felt the ground tremble beneath her feet as despair threatened to seep into their spirits. "Hold fast," she cried, her voice cutting through the cacophony of her thoughts. "We are not alone." With a surge of courage, she plunged her dagger into the ground, channeling the warmth of Freyja's light, a beacon against the encroaching darkness. Strands of luminescence erupted from the blade, forming a protective barrier around the villagers. The shadows recoiled, snarling in fury. "Foolish mortals!" Skuld screeched, fury dancing in her voice. "You dare defy my will? I shall unravel every thread of your existence." With that, she summoned the storm of shadows, creating a vortex of despair that swirled around her, howling like a banshee. "Fight, Eldheim, together!" Bjorn shouted, rallying the warriors to form a united front. The villagers clutched their weapons, courage igniting in their hearts, steel glinting defiantly against the growing darkness. They charged forward, a wave of determination crashing against Skuld's tempest. Astrid led the charge, her heart pounding like a war drum, the light of Freyja guiding her every step. "We stand for our homes, our families, together. We are stronger than any fate." As they collided with Skuld's shadows, swords clashed against darkness, illuminating the battlefield with flashes of light. The villagers fought valiantly, striking at the tendrils that reached for them, their resolve unyielding. Each swing of their weapons emanated the spirit of unity, a force Skuld had underestimated. But the Weaver of Fate was relentless. With a wave of her hand, she unleashed a deluge of shadows that engulfed the warriors, obscuring their vision and seeping into their minds, whispering doubts and fears. "You think yourselves heroes? Ha, you are but pawns in a much greater game." "Do not listen to her," Astrid shouted, her voice slicing through the darkness. "We write our own story, our fates intertwine, but we decide the ending." With renewed vigor, the villagers fought back, hearts ablaze with determination. One by one, they broke through the shadows, their spirits lifting the weight of despair that sought to crush them. Bjorn and a group of warriors formed a barrier around Astrid, determined to protect her as she continued to channel the light. "I can feel her power," Astrid cried, eyes shining with conviction. "Freyja's strength flows through us together. We can break her hold." With every word, Astrid unleashed bursts of radiant light that pierced the shadows, unraveling Skuld's grip on the battlefield. The air crackled with energy as the villagers pressed forward, emboldened by their unity. For Eldheim, they shouted in unison, voices melding into a powerful chorus that resonated through the valley. Skuld's expression morphed from rage to disbelief as her shadows began to falter. You cannot do this," she shrieked, eyes wide with frustration. "I am the master of fate." "Not today." Bjorn roared, charging forward with a fierce battle cry. The warriors followed, swords raised high, striking at the dark tendrils that flailed in desperation. Astrid felt the energy surge within her, fueled by the unwavering spirit of her tribe. She climbed atop a boulder, raising her dagger high, the sacred stone still glowing. "Freyja, grant us your strength," she cried, and a brilliant light erupted from the blade, illuminating the darkness that surrounded them. With a fierce determination, she held the dagger towards Skuld, a beacon of hope flying through the storm. The blade spiraled through the air, a radiant comet aimed at its target. Skuld's eyes widened in fear, and with a desperate wave of her hand, she tried to summon the shadows to shield her. But the light was too strong. The dagger struck true, embedding itself in Skuld's chest, and a shockwave of radiant energy erupted, banishing the shadows as it coursed through the weaver of fate. "Ugh!" Skuld howled, her form trembling as the light engulfed her. "You cannot sever the threads of destiny. I will return it." The shadows receded, unraveling into wisps of darkness that dissipated into the air. The battlefield fell silent, the villagers standing in awe as the storm dissipated, revealing a sky painted in hues of dawn. Astrid, panting and weary, felt the warmth of victory wash over her. "We have triumphed," she shouted, her voice breaking the silence. The villagers erupted into cheers, lifting her upon their shoulders, their faces glowing with pride and relief. But as the celebration began, Astrid felt a shiver run through her, an echo of the darkness that had just been vanquished. Skuld's words echoed in her mind, a haunting reminder that they had not escaped unscathed. As the villagers rejoiced, Astrid found herself at the edge of the battlefield, gazing into the horizon. "We have won today, but at what cost?" she murmured to herself, the weight of destiny pressing against her heart. Bjorn approached, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. "You led us, Astrid. Your bravery has shown us the strength we possess. We will face whatever comes next, united." "Will we be able to?" she asked, doubt creeping in. Skuld mentioned that we can only vanquish one giant before another rises. Is this the cycle of fate we are destined to endure? He knelt beside her, his gaze unwavering. "We carve our destiny with our choices. We must remain vigilant, for darkness lingers, but we are not alone. We have each other, and we will fight." As they stood together, the sun broke fully over the horizon, casting a warm glow across the valley. The village of Eldheim flourished in the light, a testament to their resilience. They had overcome giants, faced shadows, and emerged victorious. Yet, deep within Astrid's heart, she knew this was just the beginning. The echoes of fate were unyielding, and as long as the threads of destiny were woven, the cycle would continue. But in that moment, she found solace in the unity of her people and the strength of their bonds. The legend of Eldheim would continue, a tale of bravery and defiance against the darkness, a story that would echo through the ages. And as long as they held on to their hopes and dreams, they would face whatever came next, not as pawns, but as warriors, forging their destiny in a world fraught with gods, giants, and the ultimate battle for honor. Thus, the saga of Astrid, the girl who defied giants and wove her fate alongside her people, would transcend time, a luminous beacon against the shadows that threatened to consume them. And so, the story continued, a legend of courage, love, and the relentless pursuit of hope amidst the trials of life. As the sun rose over Eldheim, its rays illuminated a scene of joy and relief. The battle against Skulls had left the villagers weary but triumphant, a testament to their unity and strength. Yet, even amid the exuberant celebration, a gnawing sense of foreboding lingered in the air, a reminder that darkness was ever lurking on the fringes of their world. Astrid stood upon the hill that overlooked the village, her gaze fixed on the horizon where the sun kissed the earth. The warmth enveloped her, but couldn't penetrate the chill of doubt settling in her heart. The whispers of Skuld echoed in her mind, a haunting melody of fate and inevitability. "Are you troubled, child?" the voice called gently from behind. It was Freyja, the goddess of love and war, who appeared in a shimmering light, draped in a gown woven from the threads of the dawn. Astrid turned, her heart racing at the sight of the divine. I fear what may come next, great Freyja," Astrid admitted, her voice trembling. Skuld warned of a cycle unbroken. How can we fight against a fate that is predetermined? Freyja smiled, her emerald eyes sparkling with wisdom. "Fate is but a tapestry, woven by many hands. It is true that darkness will rise again, but it is not a matter of if, but how do you choose to fight it? Your courage has already changed the threads of destiny." "Then, what must we do?" Astrid asked, hope flickering within her. Prepare, Freyja replied, her voice like a soft breeze. Gather your warriors and forge alliances, for a new threat perches, one that craves vengeance for his fallen kin. The Frost King was but a harbinger of greater storms. As Freyja's presence faded, Astrid felt a renewed sense of purpose. She hurried down the hill with determination igniting every step. The villagers needed to be ready, for the winds of fate were shifting, and it was time to face the rising tide. Gathered the people, she called to Bjorn, who was directing the warriors to repair the village. We must prepare for the storms that shall come. Bjorn nodded resolutely, his broad shoulders squared. Aye, Astrid, we have tasted victory, but we must not grow complacent. Let us gather our strength and wisdom, and seek allies among the tribes of the north that might turn the tide in our favor. The villagers rallied quickly, their spirits bolstered by Astrid's leadership. They set about repairing the village, sharing tales of their battle with Galdor and the lessons learned. As twilight descended, a meeting was held in the village square, where the warriors and elders gathered, eyes alight with a mix of hope and trepidation. My friends, Bjorn began, his voice steady and proud, we stand at the precipice of a new dawn. Our victory over Galdor has shown us the strength we possess when united, but we must not let our guard down. Astrid brings word of a greater threat looming in the shadows. We must seek allies and prepare for the trials ahead. The villagers murmured among themselves, exchanging glances filled with determination. Astrid stepped forward, heart pounding with passion. We faced giants, we faced shadows, and we emerged victorious. Now, we must journey north to the frost-bound mountains, where the tribes dwell. They shall stand with us against the darkness. Many tribes are fierce and proud, an elder interjected, his brow furrowed. They do not take kindly to outsiders, especially from Eldrime. How do you plan to persuade them? Astrid's heart raced as she considered their words. We will bring gifts, tokens of our bravery and unity. We shall show them the strength of our spirit. If we face the darkness together, we can forge a bond that will withstand any storm. The villagers erupted in applause, a wave of energy coursing through them. Bjorn raised his hand, silencing the crowd. Let it be known, we shall embark at dawn. Gather what you can, for the journey will be perilous. We will face the frostbound mountains together. As the villagers dispersed, Astrid found herself standing alone, a whirlwind of thoughts swirling in her mind. She knew the journey would be fraught with danger, yet she felt a fire igniting within her, a fire fueled by the love for her people and the desire to protect them. That night she lay tossing and turning, the weight of destiny pressing heavily against her heart. In the depths of her dreams, she saw the looming mountains, their icy peaks glistening under a shrouded moon. Shadows danced along their slopes, whispering secrets of despair and vengeance. Suddenly, a figure loomed before her, a giant draped in shadows, eyes like molten gold. Her heart raced as she recognized him, Rimthurs, the fallen giant. You think you are victorious? He growled, voice echoing like thunder. You have only awakened the true storm. Astrid jolted awake, gasping for breath, sweat glistening on her brow. The sun had yet to rise, but an urgency filled her. She could not let fear dictate her actions. She would face whatever came next, be it giant, shadow, or fate itself. At dawn, as the first rays of sunlight crested over the hills, the village assembled. Warriors and villagers alike donned their armor, marking their skin with runes blessed by Freyja. The air buzzed with anticipation, a chorus of resolve echoing through Eldrime. Today, we embark on a journey to forge our destiny, Bjorn proclaimed, standing tall before the gathered crowd. We shall honor our fallen by seeking alliances and preparing for the storms to come. We are Eldrime, and we fight for each other. With a unified battle cry, the villagers set forth, their hearts ablaze with determination, marching toward the frostbound mountains. The path wound through dense forests and treacherous cliffs, but they pressed on, resolute in their mission. As they neared the mountains, the air grew colder and the ground was blanketed with snow. The villagers huddled together, sharing warmth and stories of their past battles, igniting their spirits against the chilling winds. On the third day of their journey, they reached the foothills of the frostbound mountains. From a distance, they spotted a tribe of fierce warriors, their forms draped in animal furs, eyes glinting with suspicion. The village elder, a woman named Thora, emerged, her presence commanding as she approached. Who dares tread upon our sacred land? Thora's voice rang out, sharp and unwavering, like the bitter ice of the mountain. We are of Eldrime, Bjorn proclaimed, stepping forward with dignity. We seek alliance against the darkness that stirs. We fought against the Frost King and emerged victorious, but shadows still linger. We need your strength. Thor eyed them warily, her gaze unwavering. Your victory was against a child of ice. Can you stand against the true dwellers of winter? Many have tried, and many have fallen. Astrid stepped forward, her heart pounding as she met Thor's gaze head-on. We have faced giants and shadows. We have sacrificed for each other, and we are willing to fight for our home and yours. Join us, and we can conquer the darkness together." A murmur ran through the gathered warriors, their eyes assessing the determination radiating from Astrid and her people. Thor considered her words, and a flicker of admiration crossed her face. "Very well, we shall test your worth." With a swift motion, Thor raised her hand, and the warriors formed a circle, weapons ready. "Prove your strength, Eldheim, face our fiercest warriors in combat. Only then shall we consider your plea." The villagers exchanged glances, a mix of apprehension and resolve painting their faces. Bjorn stepped forward, squaring his shoulders. "We accept your challenge. Let honor guide our actions." And so the trials began. Warriors from both tribes clashed amidst the icy winds, the sound of steel ringing through the air as they demonstrated their skills. Astrid felt her heart race, adrenaline coursing through her veins as she watched her fellow villagers fight bravely alongside Thor's warriors. One by one, they faced challenges of strength and strategy, proving their bond as they fought for each other. Astrid herself stepped into the ring, her dagger glinting in the cold light. She faced a fierce warrior named Eric, his stature imposing, but she felt Freyja's presence alongside her. With every strike, she recalled the lessons of unity and sacrifice, weaving them into her movements. The battle was intense, but as she parried Eric's blows, she felt her spirit elevate. With a calculated maneuver, she disarmed him, the dagger poised at his heart. "Yield," she commanded, breathless but resolute. Eric stared in surprise before nodding, a grin breaking across his face. "Well fought, girl, you have proven your worth." The villagers erupted in cheers, pride swelling in their hearts. Thor stepped forward, her expression shifting from suspicion to respect. "You have shown great bravery and skill. Perhaps our fates are intertwined after all." With that, the two tribes forged an alliance, pledging to stand together against the darkness that awaited. But as they celebrated their newfound kinship, the winds began to howl ominously,